And she was talking about how much work it was to dismantle her identity from that thing that she defined herself as for so long. And I think that's one of the biggest things about letting your manifestations go. It's dismantling all those ideas you have connected to this is who you are, and then still feeling good about yourself even if you don't know where the next direction is going, right? Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah. I am an author, a professor, and of course, a master manifester, because manifesting the life I choose is all I know. Manifesting by default is a no-no for me. So today I want to talk about when your manifestations change, right? So this hit me. I was doing my little 5-mile walk, this morning. I was like, no running, I'm just gonna walk. And I was just like thinking like all of the things that I used to think that I wanted once upon a time and where I am today, like as far as what do I think is important in my life? What do I think is a necessity? What do I truly enjoy, right? So this is my take on manifestations changing. I know sometimes it's hard. You've had a vision board sitting up. I have a giant one sitting in there, and it's for sentimental reasons that I keep it around. But there's so many things on it that aren't quite as important to me as they used to be. Now, if they played out in my life, I would be like, oh, that's wonderful, right? But I can honestly say there's not a strong desire for it like it was when I placed it on the vision board. So, like many people, I made a lot of vision boards over time, and I would have these things up there that seemed like, oh man, my life would not be complete unless I accomplish that thing, or unless I have this thing, or unless I buy this thing or take this trip. And okay, my life is not over. Of course, I'm still sitting here. I'm talking to you right now. But the point is that I saw my desire to have something, some of those things, those really specific things, shift over time. And then I can honestly say that it was really hard to come to terms with the fact that it wasn't as important to me anymore. So one of the things that I can think of that used to be super important to me was becoming a best-selling author. Now, mind you, I wouldn't mind. It would be a cool thing to be a best-selling author on some platform, whether it be Amazon, whether it be New York Times, whatever, I'll take it, right? But I remember a time when I felt so desperate and so empty because I did not have that specific manifestation, because I was writing and I was doing everything I thought was supposed to be done. I was sending off my proposals and manuscripts to publishers, and I was getting rejection after rejection. I mean, I had like 35 rejection letters when they still sent out physical letters that I used to keep. And I finally threw them away in this last move. I was like, girl, you already know what happened. You don't need all the rejection letters. Well, my goal was to, when I became that best-selling author, to take those 30-something letters and, create some type of a motivational video or speech or something like that, or a speaking occasion where I would take out those letters and tell people, see how many times I was rejected, and look at me now, right? But over time, when I started working on things that were deeply more important to me, and that was mostly based on who I was in this world, how I wanted to show up, what kind of mother I wanted to be, what kind of mate I wanted to be, what kind of relative I wanted to be for the people around me, and what kind of person I wanted to be in my career, like what would make your bells ring today. And so going through those motions and shifting and changing over time and becoming a lot more open to being around other people to create, and creating in environments where there's teamwork, that was something that didn't exist before. So now the idea that, being a best-selling author, it kind of withered away, but it felt strange because I was like, well, this is what I talked about since I was like 12 years old. I'm not supposed to change my mind with that. I'm supposed to want that same thing forever. No. That is what so many people feel. I was just thinking about that the other day when I was asking my daughters, what do they want to do when they get older? And they were like, They were like, something, it'll play out, They were like, it'll figure itself out. And I was kind of thinking like, yeah, because you meet some people sometime and they have such a direct purpose and they don't waver from it. They never change it. They never shift it. Like the manifestation desires they had when they were 5 are the same ones they have when they're 45, if they have not already achieved or accomplished it. So when you're kind of a person who outgrows ideas and things sort of quickly, you feel like, maybe I should hang on to this manifestation to prove to myself that this meant what it's always meant to me. And that is not a good way to approach manifesting. That is not a good, that's not the case. It's not a good thing. And so that really sort of hit me today. I was just like, what happens when your manifestations change? Another big thing is, it's like you have to mourn the manifestation. You have to grieve it almost, right? Because you had such a close connection, such a really clear ideal about what that manifestation was going to mean to you once it was accomplished. And when you no longer want it or desire it, it's almost as if you have to give it a funeral. You have to lay it to rest. Because if you don't lay it to rest, then you find yourself having what I call false energy and fake manifestation energy behind some idea that you thought you wanted maybe 5 or 10 years ago that you no longer want now. And you're trying to hang on to it, right? I see the same thing, I guess, in relationships, and like what you desire from a person when you're 25 is very different if you've been married and divorced and had kids and all that, and then you find yourself dating again at 40. Well, then your desires and manifestations related to your mate are gonna be different. It's gonna be on a different page, right? So I think it's a good idea to lay those ideas to rest, to sit there and process why that thing was so important to you. Like, why was it so important to me to be a best-selling author? Because I knew that I could write, and I knew that I wrote well, and I excelled in that area, and people would give me accolades in that area, and it really felt good to complete stories and to create characters. It was really, really fun. And why not want to make a living or be great in an area that comes to you is almost like second nature, right? And so I had to come to terms with that. Then I had to say, but what does it mean to you today? Now today, it's just a talent and something that I enjoy that I may dig deeper into later on in my life. But I've written 7 books and I enjoy tremendously picking them up every now and then and reading a few lines and going, wow, girl, you can write. And that really fills me. It really fills me with joy. So at this point, if you did become a best-selling author, it wouldn't be the life or death proposal that it was for you 10 or 15 years ago, right? So it's like I had to process that and kind of like let it go and know that if it's supposed to come back around, or if I'm supposed to care about it as much as I did, then that's fine. And so what I also want to say when manifestations change, you have to know the difference between a manifestation shifting and you outgrowing it, and when you're letting something go because you don't believe that it's possible for you, right? And those are two different things. So if you had a desire to manifest, say, a career as a dancer or something like that, right? You can get to the point where you let that idea go, but are you letting it go because it's no longer something that's so important to you that it defines you? Or are you letting that idea go because it's something you really, really want, but it's so painful that you don't have it yet? So you figure, let me just stop wanting it altogether, or pretend to stop wanting it altogether, right? And yes, that's very important. So just be clear on that. Be clear about why you're letting that manifestation go and why is it not important to you anymore. And if you're being honest with yourself about whether or not it's something that you still want or still desire. Because a lot of times, we do it to save face. There's a thing that we wanted and we really wanted it real bad. And then people that we knew that were connected to us, they knew how bad we wanted it. And we keep saying that we want this thing because everybody knows there's this person that wants that particular thing. So we kind of hang on to it, from the camaraderie and the connection to others and that manifestation, but it's not always what we're into today, right? Another thing that I like to remember when I am letting my manifestations change or allowing them to change or paying attention to a shift in it, it's creating an environment that is no longer completely devoted to that manifestation being the number one thing in my life, right? So for a while, everything that I did, okay, if you're talking about me being a best-selling author, everything that I did was related to writing. I was around writers all the time. I read magazines that was about, writer's block, writers this and that. I followed all the writers' accounts on Instagram when I had an account. On Facebook, I did too. I, share the little writers memes all day and stuff like that. And I was really just in this world of, I am a writer. Like that was my number one, I am a writer, right? And so notice now I say I'm an author, because being an author and a writer is two different things. Like I write and I still write and I still feel like I'm a writer, but it doesn't define me the way that it used to. Being an author means that you have published works. And so, yes, I have published works, so I'm an author. But at the same time, I had to start reshaping my life in a way that it wasn't completely consumed and centered around being a writer, right? And I also heard someone mention this too when they were talking about when they were when they were talking about being transgender, when they were a teen and like pre-adolescence and all that, and everything in their lives, they were consumed with the idea of transgender lifestyles, the fight, everything, the literature, everything related to being transgender. And then at some point, for whatever reason, around 19 or 20 years old, a young lady grew out of it. She was just like, you know what, this is not as much as who I am as I thought this was who I am, right? And she was talking about how much work it was to dismantle her identity from that thing that she defined herself as for so long. And I think that's one of the biggest things about letting your manifestations go. It's dismantling all those ideas you have connected to this is who you are, and then still feeling good about yourself even if you don't know where the next direction is going, right? So that's what's important to me. I just wanted to share that today because I was just like, what happens when your manifestations shift? We've all experienced it, but like, what is kind of like the feeling of it, right? You got to lay that thing to rest. You got to be really clear on why it is it's shifting, whether you're just giving up on something or whether you're really just outgrowing it. And then you have to really think about how you've created a lifestyle around a particular idea you have of yourself and whether you're willing to dismantle those ideas even when you don't have a clear path to what do I want next, right? And as Alan Watts said, a lot of people don't know what they want because two reasons: they already got it. Number one reason is because they already got it. And then number two reason is because, what was it? They don't really want it bad enough. Something along those lines. But the already got it part was really funny to me because I'm like, we kind of always, a lot of times we have all the things we want. We just want it to show up in a particular package, right? Like we have all the love and abundance we want and need in our lives a lot of times, but we want it to show up as a mate, or we want it to show up from our children. We want it to show up through our parents. We want that particular love, but we can have love no matter what, right? So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. I just thought I'd drop in real quick and talk about what happens when your manifestations change, and that it's okay to let it change, to let it go, to let yourself grow, and to let yourself blossom and continue to figure out on a regular basis what it is that's gonna ring my bells, what it is that's gonna make me feel the way that I wanna feel in this particular life that I have the ability and the blessing to live. And as always, make sure you check out my new book. Not so new, but new to you if you haven't seen it, right? Stop Waiting, How Putting Off My Dreams Nearly Wasted My Life. It's on Amazon.com. And of course, I'll have the links in the description below. And share my videos with people that you know. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video too. Make sure you comment if you have something to say, even if it's just an emoji. I love to just, get any kind of feedback because, I want to know if I'm doing something that's useful for other people. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.